The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
This is Christine Langley with the Wyoming Women's Business Center, and I want to welcome you to Recurring Transactions in QuickBooks, the online version. The Wyoming Women's Business Center is a nonprofit organization that helps people who want to start or expand small businesses, specifically in the state of Wyoming. And we do that through 3 programs. So the first is our business training and one-on-one counseling. The second is our access to capital through our microloan program and individual development accounts programs. And then lastly, through our professional artist development center. This particular QuickBooks training series is brought to you by our microloan program, which was started to provide access to funds for those unable to get business loans through traditional means. And so if you'd like more information on our microloan program, you can contact Waldo Smith. And now I'd like to turn it over to Derek Campbell with Capital Clarity Company for our presentation today. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you, Christine. Hello, everybody. So like Christine mentioned, today I want to show you how to create and manage your recurring transactions in QuickBooks Online. So if you've stuck around for this far into our series, you've probably noticed that bookkeeping is a pretty routine process for the most part. And many transactions you record in QuickBooks will be repeated time and time again. QuickBooks has accounted for this and has created a feature that can help you save some time with these often repeated and monotonous transactions through their recurring transactions feature. Just quickly, a couple of examples of recurring transactions could be a monthly journal entry to record depreciation expense, or a monthly invoice to a customer that you provide recurring services to at a fixed rate. You could even create a monthly insurance or utility bill that is due on the same day in the same amount each period. Maybe you pay the city for water each month, and so you want to have a bill that's easier to create without starting from scratch each time. So to get started in recurring transactions in QuickBooks Online, you're going to log into your QuickBooks Online company account, and you're going to click this little gear icon right here. And under lists, you're going to see recurring transactions. This is going to display all of your recurring transactions that you've created at this point in time. If you want to create a new recurring transaction, you just click this green new button and then specify the type of transaction you want to create. QuickBooks can do recurring transactions and templates for all kinds of different transactions. But for this example, let's go with a bill. So that's going to pull up the recurring bill screen, and I'm just going to give this a name, and let's just call it monthly utilities. And then I want this to be scheduled, but you can also have it as a reminder. So a reminder, the difference between scheduled and a reminder would mean that on a scheduled recurring transaction, QuickBooks will automatically create the transaction for you. A reminder just means that you'll get a little pop-up box on the dashboard of your QuickBooks Online account that says, hey, don't forget to create this bill, and then a link that takes you to quickly create the bill. I'll leave it unscheduled. I like to think of these as templates. So if I wanted just to create a template that I could pull up at any time to create the process a little quicker, I would create an unscheduled recurring transaction so that I could just go grab it when I needed it. It doesn't necessarily need to be on a scheduled basis. For this example, let's go with scheduled, and just for purposes of demonstration, let's tell QuickBooks to create this 15 days in advance. So that means I'm going to tell QuickBooks what the due date is, but QuickBooks is going to enter this bill 15 days before the due date. That way I can track it and I can monitor the bill to make sure that I pay it before it's due. I'm going to select the vendor from this drop-down list, and let's see if I can find a good example here. Let's just go with this. And then I want this to be monthly, and I want it to be on a specific day. So I know that this bill is always due on the 15th of every 1 month. And let's start it next month. And I am probably going to have this bill for the rest of my business's existence, or at least for the foreseeable future. So I'm not going to put an end date in. I can, if I wanted to, I could tell this transaction to stop recurring after a certain date, or I could tell it to stop recurring after a certain number of occurrences. For this example, I'll select none. I'll put in the terms of the bill. Typically, this bill is net 15, and I'll charge it to utilities. I'll put in a description of monthly utilities, and if I know that the bill is going to be for $150 each month, then I can put it in here and save the template. That'll add it to my recurring transactions list. And you can see here that the next date it's scheduled, the customer vendor, the amount. If I want to edit this, I just click this edit button, and I can come here and I can make any changes I need. Maybe the vendor changed, maybe the amount changed, maybe I want to put it in a different account. I can do all of that through this transaction screen. Or if I click this little drop down, I can click use, meaning I want to create this transaction right now. I don't want to wait until the next scheduled date. I can click duplicate if I have another recurring transaction that's super similar to this one. Pause means, all right, put this on pause. I don't think I'll have this one, but I don't necessarily want to delete the recurring transaction. If for some reason I took care of the next month in a different fashion, I can tell it just to skip the next time and recur starting after that, or I could delete the recurring transaction altogether. So let's do one more example here. Let's do new and let's do an invoice. Let's say that I invoice a client for recurring services on a monthly basis. So I'm just going to call this template recurring services. And I'm not going to create it any days in advance. I'm just going to select a customer. I can tell QuickBooks to automatically send the invoice to the customer when it creates it, or I can turn that off if I just want QuickBooks to, if I just want to track it in QuickBooks. I go through the same process of creating the interval. I want to create on the first day of every 1 month, starting next month. And let's say my contract with Amy's Bird Sanctuary only lasts another year. So I'll put in 12 occurrences so that I don't accidentally send an invoice after my contract date is up. Terms on the invoice, let's say I give net 15 terms. And let's put in a product or service here. So let's say I do weekly gardening service and I charge her on a monthly basis and I charge her $150 a month. I can edit all of the other details in the invoice and then click Save Template. That creates the template here in my recurring transactions list where I can edit it again if I needed to make any changes, or go through any of the other options that we talked about on the other transaction. Please note that you can also create estimates, journal entries, recurring transfers. If I recur a transfer from one bank account to another each month, all of this can be done on a recurring basis using recurring transactions. That's the basic on recurring transaction in QuickBooks Online. Thank you guys for tuning in with me, and I'll pass it back to Christine.
Thanks, Eric. The Wyoming Women's Business Center is made possible through several partnership agencies. Our primary funding comes from the U.S. Small Business Administration and the Wyoming Business Council. And so we're thankful to all of our supporters. If you'd like to contact the Wyoming Women's Business Center, our contact information is here on the screen, and our business counseling is always free. If you're interested in the microloan program, again, please contact Waldo Smith. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today.